Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, September 11th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I am joined by the people's champ, Matt Baxendale. Bax, condolences to your Steelers last night. Usually I root against the Steelers no matter what, except when they're playing the Patriots, then I kind of have a tough time figuring out what to do, but condolences to your Steelers. First of all, how the heck did Duran Grant get cut? He's a fourth-round pick. I thought he was going to be taken higher than that. I was thinking the Steelers got a steal, no pun intended. How did Duran Grant get cut and just put on the practice squad?
There's no good explanation for it. Have you seen their cornerbacks? The Steelers' defensive backs, they're awful. I don't know what was going on with their mindset there. They drafted a second-round pick as well from Ole Miss ahead of him, Dontre Wilson, and he's out for the year too. So they drafted multiple cornerbacks in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft, and none of them are on the active roster, so they can keep a bunch of guys who can't cover anyone. It's ridiculous, and they deserve to lose for that kind of failure.
Yeah, they were kind of like the Pittsburgh Buckeyes during introductions with Cam Hayward and Ryan Shazier and even Will Allen starting and, really putting the emphasis on the Ohio State. But, I was surprised about Duran Grant. And furthermore, that nobody else picked him up. That once he was released, nobody picked him up, so the Steelers were able to stash him on their practice squad. We wish Duran Grant luck. I'm sure he will stick in the league for a long time. Same thing happened to Chimdi Check when he first came out. He was cut, put on practice squad. He's still sticking around the league. So good luck to Duran Grant. Moving on to our main storyline here. Bax, I want to get your opinions on the biggest surprises so far. Throughout the offseason, we talked about numerous things about the Buckeyes. We're now heading into Game 2. We're a week into the season. What are your biggest surprises thus far for the Buckeyes?
Well, I think the biggest surprise overall is that Cardale Jones was the starter against Virginia Tech. I mean, so many people had thought it was going to be J.T. Barrett in the week leading up to the actual game that it was almost borderline gospel. I remember when he was named a captain, and it seemed like a foregone conclusion. So I certainly think it's a huge surprise that Cardale started, just because, not that, Cardale wasn't good enough to start, because obviously he's been exceptional when he's played, but I think just everybody, from all the chatter everybody had been hearing, had assumed it was J.T. Barrett who was going to start. So that's one of my biggest surprises. And another surprise I wanted to point out was that Ezekiel Elliott was our punt returner to start the season. We heard all this stuff about Braxton Miller returning kicks and Curtis Samuel returning kicks, and Zeke wasn't even on the 2-deep initially. And we had Ezekiel Elliott back there returning punts, and I don't know what to think about that one either. I certainly don't like the idea of, injuring your number one tailback on a punt return situation, but maybe Urban was trying to listen to my long-standing argument of just catch the ball and ensure the turnover because this offense is so good, you're going to score a ton of points. At least coming out of the Virginia Tech game, those were probably the 2 biggest surprises for me, was the starter quarterback and, of course, the punt return situation.
I love the lack of drama. I'm not even sure if it's a big surprise, but I think on any other team, when you have 2 accomplished quarterbacks like J.T. Barrett and Cardale Jones, and one of them obviously wins the job, one of them loses the job, there's going to be consternation, there's going to be divide, but not on this team. These guys, after the game, they're right next to each other singing Carmen, Ohio. After the first touchdown, it's J.T. Barrett's the first one to congratulate Cardale Jones. I'm thrilled about how things are going with the quarterback situation. Another mild surprise is Braxton Miller's transition. I thought it would take a while for him to set the world on fire. Well, that's called being wrong. It took him all of 1 game to set the world on fire. It's going to be tough sledding to top that as the play of the year, the spin heard around the world on his 53-yard touchdown run. A couple of great blocks from Ezekiel Elliott on that play, by the way. He's the best blocking running back I've ever seen. So I agree with you. There hasn't been a ton of surprises, but just the way the quarterback situation has been handled overall as far as Cardale starting, they're not using really a 2-quarterback system. JT's just coming in the 4th quarter. At least that's how it was in the Virginia Tech game. I'm sure they'll both play a lot against Hawaii. And then Braxton coming to the coaches, saying he wants to move positions, and then having such a quick transition. These are good surprises. The depth chart for Hawaii backs was released, and not a lot of surprises on there. Joey Bosa is listed as a starter, but he's bracketed with Sam Hubbard. It will be interesting to see if Joey goes out there right away or what happens. Paris Campbell's still listed as a starter. That's interesting. I thought Jalen Marshall might be in there. Now, maybe this is a thing where coming off suspension, much like with Joey Bosa, you don't get your job back right away. I have to think Jalen Marshall's going to be the guy there over Paris Campbell. Your thoughts, Bax?
Yeah, Paris Campbell had an opportunity to really shine for the Buckeyes in the first game. And while they made a couple pretty good plays on special teams, the 2 drops are going to stick with us a little bit here. I think this is your classic example of the depth chart sort of rewarding somebody for effort, but we all know how it's going to pan out. Sam Hubbard is not going to start over Joey Bosa. It's not even a debate between the 2 of them. Joey Bosa is the starter. Same with Jalen Marshall over Paris Campbell. I expect Paris Campbell to play a lot. I think it's a reward for his hard work that he's listed as the starter still, and it's a reminder to Jalen Marshall that he has to earn his place back, but by earning his place back, they're going to put him on the field a lot with the first-team offense. He's going to get a ton of looks. I'll be surprised if he's not the first-team punt returner. All said and done there, to me, this is the coach is rigging the depth chart for motivational purposes at best. I think there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that you're going to have Bosa and Marshall as your starters whenever any game matters this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I think if they're not starting this game, they'll certainly be starting the next game and every game after that. It looks like Marshall's going to, as you said, Jalen Marshall will get his punt returning duties back right away. He's listed ahead of Ezekiel Elliott on the depth chart at punt returner, but is listed as a backup wide receiver behind Paris Campbell. Again, I don't think that'll last much longer. As you said, that's just motivation. Real quick on the depth chart, Dontre Wilson's role does not appear like it's going to be very big this year. I don't think Dontre is going to be happy with his playing time. Now, right now he's not 100%, so it might not matter. He's still coming off the foot injury, broke it against Michigan State, then had a setback, had to have a second surgery last spring. So, you know, those foot injuries, when you're a guy that needs to rely on speed and cutting, that's a big deal. So, but even when, let's say for argument's sake, he's 100% by midseason, I still don't see Dontre Wilson having a big role in this team backs unless there's injuries to guys ahead of him. He just has better players ahead of him. Let's look at the H-back position. Braxton Miller is better than Dontre Wilson. Curtis Samuel is better than Dontre Wilson. Now, Jalen Marshall has moved from the H-back position, where Dontre would be the fourth-team H-back, with Jalen Marshall's moved to wide receiver. You look at the kick returner. I think Curtis Samuel is a much better kick returner than Dontre Wilson. For whatever reason, Dontre Wilson is not involved as a punt returner, and he's basically like a third-team wide receiver. Agree or disagree, I don't see Dontre Wilson, even if healthy, having a big role in this team this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think Dontre Wilson's smartest move would be to let his foot heal in redshirt this year and then get himself back to 100% starting in the spring. If you look at the depth around him, you look at the guys that are ahead of him right now, you're not going to be sitting like all those guys you just mentioned. I mean, my goodness, Braxton Miller looked like an insane video game caricature of himself. And we all know how much of a video game he is already at the H-back position. And then Curtis Samuel, no one is talking about that touchdown catch because it was early in the game, and we all kind of forgot about it because of everything that happened afterwards. That's an insane wide receiver level catch. That may have been the best catch outside of Braxton's diving grab the whole game by anyone. That you're not going to bench that guy for Dontre Wilson. So not only is he coming off a suspension, not only is he coming off of a foot injury, it's going to be very difficult for Dontre Wilson to break through and get a ton of run this year. I think the absolute smart decision if you're him is to let your foot get right. Take the year. Get yourself right, you know? That's one of these things. Sometimes you see people rush themselves back from injuries, and it ends up hurting them in the long run. Dontre Wilson's best move here is to just get healthy and then come back and play whenever he's actually able to go. Because he's still nagging that foot injury. He had 2 surgeries. I don't see him playing a major role this year for the Buckeyes.
That is an excellent point, Champ. I think I've never even thought of that. That's exactly what he should do. He should redshirt this year. He's not going to have a big role. He's still not 100% right now per Urban Meyer. And when the coach is saying you're not 100%, that doesn't mean you're 99%. It means you're probably about 80%. And he's not going to have a big role anyway, even if healthy, unless there's injuries. Go ahead and redshirt him. If there are injuries, you can always activate him, so to speak, near the end of the year. I love your idea here. I think Dontre Wilson needs to take your advice. I'm going to ask Urban Meyer about that next chance I get. If there's a chance that Dontre Wilson will redshirt, I like that idea. Last topic real quick. The spread for the game tomorrow is just 41 points. That's all. Buckeyes favored by merely 41. And at first I'm thinking that's, kind of a hangover game tomorrow, short week. It's going to be tough to cover the spread. Then I broke it down. I'm thinking, I think Ohio State's going to score 63 points in this game. Is Hawaii going to be able to score 23? And I don't think they will. I think they'll get close. My final score prediction backs is 63-20, so I'm not only picking the Buckeyes to win, of course. I am picking them to cover this ridiculous spread. Now, if I was betting money, I probably would just hold off from even putting anything on this game. But give me your final score prediction. Are the Buckeyes going to cover this ridiculous spread?
Great minds think alike, Dave. I said 63-21. So I'm in agreement that they're going to cover it, and here's why. 63 points sounds like a crazy number to put up, right? Well, here's the problem. Let's say the Buckeyes go out and you do their usual early explosion on offense against a bad team. Let's say it's, 35-7 at halftime. Well, then you're going to bring in J.T. Barrett, if he's not in before that even. And they're not going to not run the offense when J.T. Barrett's in there at quarterback. They're not going to do the old-school Tressel version of hand it off 3 times and run the Dave play and punt. They're going to let JT run the offense, and they're going to let JT run the offense against what is assuredly going to be Hawaii's second-team defense. JT Barrett would shred Hawaii's first-team defense. What's going to happen when JT Barrett goes up against their second-team defense? I can see Barrett having 3 or 4 touchdowns in the second half on his own. In fact, I picked JT Barrett to be the offensive player of the game because the idea of him going against the second-team defense for a Hawaii team that doesn't play great defense is kind of exciting if you're a big fan of putting up numbers on the scoreboard. I could easily see the Buckeyes putting up 70 in this game, really without trying too hard. And on the other side of the ball, Max Whittick's a good quarterback. I will give him some credit there. He's a former USC guy, very highly rated recruit. But this defense is going to be in very good position to get after the quarterback. And here's the thing about Hawaii. If their passing offense doesn't click on some passes, and it's a couple quick 3-and-outs, Ohio State's going to have a ton of possessions and opportunity to run up a ton of score. I could see this easily being kind of like the Kent State game or the Cincinnati game last year, where OSU's pushing the school record for yardage by the end of the game, just because Hawaii doesn't play fantastic defense. And Ohio State has two quarterbacks that are better than almost any other quarterbacks in the entire country. Urban's going to let them both play. Urban's going to let them both put up some numbers in this one. And people are worried about a hangover, but the talent on this team, I am not.
It's pretty cool. It's the home opener, and Cardale Jones is going to make his first start in Ohio Stadium. That probably. Urban Meyer hasn't even said for sure that's going to happen, but I imagine that it's definitely going to happen. It's crazy to think that Cardale is 4-0 as Ohio State's starting quarterback on some of the biggest stages you can imagine, including the biggest stages you can imagine, and he hasn't started a game yet in Ohio Stadium. So that's going to be really cool to see Cardale make his first start.
It's his first non-night game, Dave.
And his first non-night game. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
The earliest, like, he's not going to know what to do. He's going to be like, wait, we're kicking off now? What's going on? I thought we didn't kick off till 8 p.m.
The 12 gauge is nocturnal. He's not going to know what to do at 3:30 on Big Ten Network. But, yeah, for those that don't know,
Biddle will start the day games. That's what we'll do.
For those that don't know, the game is obviously at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. For television, it's on Big Ten Network, so BTN has you covered tomorrow. Matt Millen is on the call, so I apologize for that. But so there you go. Big Ten Network tomorrow. Matt Millen on the call at 3:30. Thanks so much to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Great stuff as always from Bax. And thanks to you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Take it away, best damn band in the land.